This is my Hatchhyack Tragedy Overground deck. 1 copy of the leader. 4 Oceanic Shenron Negative Energy Explosion. 4 Sin Shenron Negative Energy Explosion. 4 Black Mask Splintering Mind. 4 Dr. Leisure the Departed Spirit. 4 Delete the Contact Goku. 4 Goku Making Engines. 4 Power Burst. 4 Whis' Cohesion. 4 Senzu Beam. 4 Tragedy Overground. 4 Hit Battlefield Manipulator. 4 Raditz Giant Force. 4 Majin Buu Assault of the Agents of Destruction. 4 SS Gotenks Absolute Unison. And 4 Zeno Cosmic Unison. So we do get a new card from the new set 15. Hit Battlefield Manipulator. Ironically, the only ability we get from this card is his active +1 active main ability, which is draw a card. But it's a 2-drop 15 Unison with the +1 ability to draw a card. So it's a 15k body that'll stick on the board. We're not going to awaken with our leader. Therefore, having something else on the field to attack with, useful. So that's where this will come in the early game. Then when you get, past turn 2, like past turn 3, I should say. Past turn 3, then you'll want to, beef up your defenses. So we have unisons for that. And of course, we have a unison for clearing the board if we need to, drop a bomb, as they say, right? Clear a board if need be. So Almighty Push Zeno is in there. We still have Spencer Mine Vegeta for burn. So if we are able to get our opponent down to 1 life, we could just use this Vegeta to go for game. If it takes more than 1 turn to succeed in that, then so be it, right? Whatever it takes. This Majin Buu has Unison has Double Strike and Blocker, so of course we're going to take advantage of its blocking capabilities as well as its autos for defense. But the fact that it is double strike, take advantage of that as a win con, as well as our Gotenks being a dual attacker, so we can use it to try to go for game with that. Take advantage of the fact they can attack twice is always good. The ability to use Raz to attack and be able to block with his first active main obviously is useful. The ability to attack and still have a defense is always good. And then of course the main card of the deck is Tragedy Overground itself. It's this card can hit 4 costs and higher, so this will make it hard for our opponent to play big battle cards, and they can attack more than once. So they're gonna have to play 3 costs or less cards. They can attack more than once if they want to get multiple attacks. So this will help further condense our opponent's options. Right? We already have the leader ability reducing our opponent. Right? We already have our leader's ability reducing our opponent's how many battle cards they can swing with. We already want to set up the ability to negate multiple attacks a turn with our negates and our blockers. So we're adding, we're just making it the deck more defensive. So Tragedy Overground, great card. There's no way of cheating it out. It is a hard cast of 9, so keep that in mind. But you only need a minimum of 4 blue in order to cast this. And to play anything else, everything else in here you can play, like these 2 unisons here, a minimum of 4 blue, minimum 4 blue for this, but everything else will require 2, 3, 1 blue, 2 blue. So you can play, after you have your first 4 blue energy, you can play black energy if need be. But since you're not going to have that many unisons in play, a lot of your unisons will be dedicated energy. So you'll be charging a lot of your unisons and also play some of your unisons as well as your other cards. So the leader has a permanent, you can't play black battle cards in your battle area. You can only play black battle cards in your battle area, so you can't play any battle card that's not black in your battle area. And then, but you can play, blue extra cards, right? Obviously, for Tragedy Overground. Although, when a battle card attacks, the player that attacked can't attack with tokens or battle cards with energy cost 7 or less, other than the card they attack with for the duration turn. So anything 8 or higher can attack after this effect is triggered, but anything less than anything 7 or less won't be able to attack, including tokens. Active main, once per turn, place the top card of your opponent's place the top card of your so like saying, condensing the options your opponent has, what they can and can't do is always good. You always want to make the game harder for your opponent, easier for yourself, right? So as we already said with Hatchhyack, making it where your opponent can't attack battle cards 7 or less if they attack with a battle card, which means they still have leader swing, unison swing. They have to always make sure you can stop. They always be able to stop your opponent's leader swing, unison swings, so those are the ones that aren't affected by your leader's effect. So those are the ones you have to deal with right off the bat. Then you have to deal with the fact that they can play a battle card and swing with it. So you gotta be able to stop it. You gotta also take into account that dual attacks exist. There's some cards have the ability to restand, right? With active main abilities. So keep that in mind. So we're definitely trying to minimize how many times our opponent can attack and what our opponent can play. Ironically, the inspiration for this deck was from a team talk from Eddie St. Hilaire, where Sublet mentioned somebody wanted to know about his SS4 Treasure Overground deck versus Hatchhyack, and he mentioned that Treasure Overground, shuts down, makes it where Hatchhyack can't play, even though a lot of Hatchhyack's cards, like their negates and unisons, do get under this card, so it's not that big a deal. But they're big plays, yes. Like if they're playing the Gogeta Zeno stuff, then yes, Treasure Overground is good against the Gogeta Zeno and stuff like that. But there's a lot of stuff you could play that's under the 4 costs situation. But then I was thinking, like, well, what will you do against a Hatchhyack Treasure Overground deck, right? Because Treasure Overground can hurt a lot of decks, including SS4, right? Because imagine dropping your Treasure Overground and making it hard for your opponent to play their, Android 17 or their, what's his name? Their Vegeta, SS4 Vegeta, the Rams 4. So then I was like, oh yeah, Treasure Overground deck. Let's revisit the blue Hatchhyack strategy. Because the idea was to incorporate, more blockers, specifically unison blockers. We did get a black unison blocker, which was nice, which synergizes with Sin Shinron. But thing is about the unison is that it's not automatically a blocker. You gotta turn it into a blocker with a Sin Shinron. So not going to be using it to block until you get to turn 4, where you'll start being able to use it to block. But in this build, we can start blocking with a unison as soon as turn 3 with Rat's Giant Force. And then we have other blocker options that we can play with. Plus, most of our unisons have draw effects that we can take advantage of, so we can always keep our hand nice and thick. With negates. something you might notice right off the bat from Goku Make an Entrance all the way up to Zeno Cosmic Unison. None of these cards have combo powers. So you have 40 cards in the deck that has no combo power, and only 20 cards in the deck that does have combo power. I know some people will point that out and make that an issue because people love their combo power. So you only have 20 cards that do have combo power, but since we're all about negating and not out comboing our opponent's attacks, that is, we'll have to deal with it. We do have, of course, Senzu Beans, so well-timed Senzu Beans can make up for the lack of combo power in the deck. So there's that, and of course, it's just blocking and negating is the name of the game, as they say. We have a reusable blocker right here. So moving on with the leader ability. Yeah, we're not going to get card advantage in the swinging with the leader aspect because we're not awakening the leader at all. But we still have the active main ability that still lets us get draw. It's just that we'll be drawing the third card because when you activate this active main, once per turn, place the top card of your deck under this card. Then place the top card of your deck to the draw. So the top two cards of your deck, you're not adding to your hand. The third card is the one you draw. So you're always drawing the third card every time with this leader when you use this leader's ability. So that's how you get your card advantage or your card advantage from the leader. Then of course combine it with hit Battlefield Manipulator. That's another way you'll draw, so you'll get 2 cards a turn with that. We have Red Giant Force can also draw, as well as Majibu can draw, every turn with their first active main abilities. And don't have to say anything more about the leader since we're not awakening. So it's more about the main deck, less about the leader. The leader's just there for its auto and draw power, right? Oceana's Shenron is a blocker, plus has the counter attack skill. So choose one card from your hand, discard it, negate the attack, and play this card. If you played a card before playing this card, right, your opponent can't attack for the turn unless they place the top 4 cards of their deck into the dropper, which can help us win through mill, or just make it hard for your opponent to want to attack. Then she's a blocker, so she can stop a secondary attack. So off of 1 card, you can stop 2, potentially stop 2 attacks. And during your opponent's turn, her cost is reduced by 3, so she costs 2 on your opponent's turn. So she costs 2 less to play, but she is a 5 drop. So keep that in mind. Then we have Ascension Run, Negative Energy Explosion, Deflect, Barrier, and it's a double strike blocker. So basically it's a unison, right? Because it's virtually untouchable. And then, a barrier blocker is always good, and then having double strike is awesome because obviously it just makes it, makes it a finisher as well. So you can use it to win, to finish out the game. You don't get the auto of this card. You do get the active main active battle ability. Once per turn, Spirit Boost 1, which means you take a marker off of one of your unisons. Switch this card to active mode, and your opponent places the top card of their deck into the drop area. So obviously you'll attack with this because it is a double strike barrier battle card. Trigger this card's active battle ability and restand it, making your opponent mill a card, which can help you mill your opponent out. As well as by being by standing, obviously you get an extra attack if you want to apply pressure and deal a lot of damage to the opponent, or just use him to block because he is a blocker. So a sort of seal strategy, and then that's about it because you don't get the rest of his effect, which is to add Shadow Dragon extra cards, or to play Shadow Dragon extra cards. without paying the energy cost. We're just using him to restand. And it's once per turn, so activate and battle, so you can take advantage of that. In case, I don't know, some reason this card's in rest mode during your main phase, you can just trigger the effect and restand it. But more likely it'll be in rest mode because you attacked with it. And of course, using the active battle ability on your opponent's turn is useful, because what you'll do obviously is block, because it's a blocker. It'll go into rest mode because you block. Trigger the active battle effect. Spirit boosting one of your units, taking a marker off just to restand this, so that way you can use it to block a secondary attack. So that's why unison like this one, for example, the ability to gain a marker is useful. The ability to gain more than one marker is more preferred. You want the ability to gain two markers or more a turn, because of the fact that you'll want to attack with this twice, right? And then or attack with it, restand it so that we can use it to block on your opponent's turn, and then restand it again to block another attack, so that we get 2 blocks on your opponent's turn using the Spirit Boost ability of this card. But use the Spirit Boost once on your turn. So use it once on your turn, then once on your opponent's turn, so you can block twice. So you'll swing, use it once to restand, so that way you're ready to block your opponent's turn, and then block twice on your opponent's turn. And just keep that every turn if you can get 2 markers. But right now, we only have the ability to +1 with our hit Battlefield Manipulator, which is one of the cards we're going to synergize with this. So because it keeps getting the +1 every turn, and the +1 is card advantage. You draw a card. You just keep doing this ability to be able to restand it so we can block. Some of our other unisons have higher numbers. Once we play them, they'll have more markers, so they will have some use. But this is the main one that will give us reusable negate markers. But it won't be that necessary, because you won't be playing the game for that long that you'll need to use the Spirit Boost too much. But it's there if need be. Then we have Black Messing Spencer Mind, just so we can have something that can help us remove a card, because it's auto. When you play this card, choose up to 1 of your plus battle cards and set it to roll from warp, so that it can just inherently get rid of any problematic card, regardless of size, as they say. So we can get rid of any problematic battle card. And then it doesn't have barrier anyway. And then auto sparking 7. If you have 7 or more cards in your drop, when you attack with this card, if you lay your cards back, which it is, you may choose 2 cards from your life, send it to warp. If you did, choose one of your opponents, up to one of your opponents on life, and send it to warp. So that's how we burn our opponent for 1 damage. Dr. Leche, that the card is Spirit. It's a blocker, 10k blocker with the auto. When you play this card, choose 2 cards from the top of your deck and send it to the drop. That's mandatory, so every time you play him, you mill 2. So keep that in mind. Since you're using the leader's ability, you'll be taking essentially 3 cards off the top of your deck every turn. And that's if you're doing it every the leader's effect every turn. You might just do this like maybe the first couple of turns, just to have some card advantage. Maybe just the first 2 turns until you play this, or even just the first turn, then turn 2, play this, and then just use this to get your card advantage that way. So you're not using this ability, ripping 3 cards off the top of your deck just to draw a card. You can just get your card advantage, card draw off of this, plus your regular turn of drawing a card. So there's that. Well, where are we at? Oh yeah, we're here. And then he has the active main ability where you can pay 2 energy. Since your leader card is a Black Machine Mutant, you can play this card for your droppers. So this is how you have a reusable blocker, on top of the fact that you have other blockers that you can use more than multiple times. And then we have a Deadly Defender, the Goku, 20k with barrier. So of course, anything with barrier is useful. Like in general, makes it hard for your opponent to get rid of the card. Also, permanent during your opponent's turn, if your leader card is back, which it is, and this card is in rest mode, your opponent can't attack your leader card. And this card gets minus 5k power for the just gets 5k minus 5k power. So it's a 15 with barrier on your opponent's turn. Your opponent can't attack your leader while this is in play. So they're going to have to attack this first to try to get rid of it through battle, because as barrier would be hard to get rid of it through skill, and then attack the leader, which is already going to waste one attack. And if you are able to combo to keep this in play longer, then your opponent has to use another attack to try to take down, so it could potentially stop 2 attacks all by itself. Plus on your turn it's a 20k with barriers, so you can apply pressure with it. Goku making an entrance, counter attack, negate an attack, and play this card. It's a 5k body. Not much you can do with it. There's no way of giving it double strike or an extra power boost. You're not gonna really try to boost with it, but you still want to use it as combo power just to get it into the drop, so that you can always add it back to your hand with power burst. So you can always reuse this to negate more than once. So reusable negating is always good. As you notice, he has 0 combo power, so keep that in mind. Power burst, counterattack your leader cards black, negate an attack. Choose up to one of your black battle cards from your drop area or that has energy cost of 1. The main target for that is making entrance Goku. Permanent sparking 5. You have 5 or more cards in your drop. When you can choose to take a card from your life, add it to your hand in order to play this card for free. You can do this multiple times if you have multiple copies, and you can afford to add a card from your life to your hand. Release Cohesion, counter attack, negate an attack, then choose up to one of your energy and switch it to active mode, so you can untap black energy, blue energy, but whatever energy on tap is a little irrelevant. Mainly you're going to tap blue, because you'll need it for Senzu Bean and Release Cohesion if need be. And that's the thing, is if you have multiple copies of Release Cohesions, you'll be able to play the multiple copies off of literally just one energy. So that's the synergy that has. Plus it's a blue card, so this gives us a blue mana source for our tragedy and our other cards. Senzu Bean, another blue card for blue energy. And then of course for its active battle ability, choose up to one of your cards. More likely it's going to be the leader. It gains 5k power for the duration of the turn. Then choose up to 2 of your energy and switch them to active mode. So that way you can play multiple Senzu Beans for very little energy, as well as opening up energy, especially 2 energy, so that we can use the 2 energy for Oceanus. So that way you play Senzu Bean, tap 2 energies, then on your opponent's next attack, negate an attack with this, hit your card, then this effect will be in effect. So if they try to attack, they have to mill forward first, and then this is a blocker, and then you still have the Senzu Bean still active for the turn, so your defense will be pretty high. The thing is that since we're not awakening, the best you can do is obviously get up to 15k, which is not that different from being awakened, so keep that in mind. But it's better than nothing. And then, of course, if you use multiple Senzu Beans, that changes that situation. The idea is to try to take less damage per turn, especially since we're trying to at least get to turn 9. Once we get the 9 energy, this comes down cleaning your opponent's board, as well as locking your opponent down even further, or at least locking them out from the game, or at least a certain aspect of the game. So the best they'll have is leader, unison swing. This is a field card, permanent. This card can't be removed from your battle area by skills of your opponent's battle cards. Still affected by extra cards, unisons, and leaders. So if there's any leader, unison, or extra card that they can remove, Tragedy Overground, then Tragedy Overground can be removed. An example of that is Zeno Cosmic Unison can remove 8 Tragedy Overground. So if I went up against a deck, for example, because you might think like, oh well, SS4 Blue can ramp up fast into their Tragedy Overground, and once they play their Tragedy Overground, what you're gonna do? I'll sell Zenoid. That's what I'll do. I'll sell Zenoid. I only need 5 energy to play sell Zeno, so I'll sell Zenoid and get their tragedy out the way, and and then eventually play my own tragedy. Right? The tables has turned, turning the tides, turning the tables. So that's the thing. And then it's permanent when your opponent plays a battle card with an energy cost of 4 or more. It is placed into the owner's energy in rest mode instead. Auto, when this card is activated, choose all of your opponent's battle cards, ignore bear, which is important, right, and place them into the owner's energy in rest mode. So this will drastically ramp your opponent up, but at the same time, it will clear your opponent's board, which is the important detail. And it will, so it's board wipe as well as it locks them out of certain big options, so they have to settle and play and rely on their smaller options. Then we have mentioned earlier, right, hits battlefield, manipulator. We're only getting the +1 active main ability, which is to draw a card, so it helps it stick on the board for a while, and it's a 15k body. Red is Giant Force, one of our main blocker unisons. It has the blocker skill course, right? Auto, once per turn, when this card activates, this blocker skill switch attack mode, so it can potentially stop 2 attacks by itself. It has a +0 ability to draw a card, and at the end of your turn, switch switch this card to active mode. So that way you can attack with it, activate its ability to draw a card, switch it back to active mode, so you can use it to block twice. So you can apply pressure and be able to defend twice on your opponent's turn. Then we have a little tip. You mainly want to use this to block. Well, it depends on the situation, but typically, what you're going to really use this for is to block leader swings and unison swings, because you don't want to really lose markers. So you don't want to use this to block like big battle cards. You don't want to block 20Ks and high. Now, if your opponent has a 20K unison, well, that's unfortunate. Well, lucky them. They have a 20K unison, and now you're losing a marker. You want to be able to block, but not lose a marker in the process. So keep that in mind. So you want to use this to block the leader and the unison. This is to help you keep those two things at bay. Plus, your leader ability will keep their battle cards at bay, right, or reduce their battle card swings, and then you're using your negates and your blockers, like your Dr. Leche. You want him to take all the big hits from the like the battle card hits, but you want your Raditz, Giant Force, for example, or any of your unisons, for that matter, to take the leader unisons. Notice that most of our unisons are 20Ks, plus this one being a 19K. These are really good against 15K unisons, but not so great against 20 per se, because of the fact that 20K unisons can hit and make you lose markers. But just keep that in mind. That's all I'm saying. Just keep that in mind. So that's the main strategy. Is that I was like, man, I really want a way to at least be able to guarantee to be able to always block the leader and unison attacks, right? Because those are guaranteed attacks every turn. But battle cards, deal with them strategically through card effects and blocker, playing other blockers or negates and stuff like that. So that way, it just makes, right? the game easier for me, but I always want to make it hard for my that process. So that's the thing. This has a -2 ability if you ever need to use it. Choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, return it to the owner's hand, then at the end of your turn switch up one of your blue energy to active mode. That way you can, go ham with your obese cohesions or your Senzubin, or just anything else you may have, you might need to use. So that's pretty good. So you can play this on turn 3, right? It uses its -2 ability to bounce one of your opponent's creatures out the way, and at the end of the turn you'll be able to switch an energy back to active mode, so that way you can not only block with him twice, right, with his auto skill, you'll have an energy for a negate, so you could potentially stop 3 attacks inherently. Plus, bouncing a creature back to your opponent's hand just causes them to reset, so they probably have to play that card, that creature, or play something else instead, and have less attackers or less options. Then we have Majin Buu, Assault of the Agents of Destruction, double strike blocker, Unison. Essentially, it's a Unison equivalent to this card, Shinra, right? +0 active main ability, draw a card, and then that's it, right? Because your leader's not blue, you don't get to switch a mono blue energy to active mode, but you still do get to draw. So you trigger the active main of this, draw a card, and you have a blocker. So you have 20k blocker, you have some card advantage. But the main thing about this card, other than it being a unison blocker, it's also the fact that it has a -1 auto. When your opponent attacks with a battle card, you may choose one of their battle cards and place it at the bottom of their owner's deck. So this can be used on any battle card, not the one that's attacking per se, right? This could be used on any of your opponent's battle cards, but of course, including the battle card that's attacking. But you can only trigger this when a battle card attacks. So you can't trigger this if your opponent's leader or unison swinging only when the battle cards swing. So with this auto, you can get rid of one attacker, right? So you can deal with a battle card, so you can stop one battle card with that auto and then block anything else, preferably like a leader or unison, with the blocker skill of this card. Now we can stop 2 attacks a turn, which is the goal, right? Is to stop 2 attacks a turn. Just off of one card, stopping 2 attacks a turn with one card is always what you're aiming for. Just like how this is a counterattack and it's a blocker. This can block twice with Spirit Boost ability. This can block twice. This could, block twice essentially. So you want to get the most. This technically can block twice because it could take two attacks to take it down. And then we have SS Gotenks Absolute Unison, dual attack, blocker. So you can attack with it, restand it, so you can block with it. So Sword and Shield, it's 20k buy, which is always useful to help you, hit, unisons or anything else. That's another thing to consider. The fact that this has double strike, for example, is the fact that you can use this as a unison killer. Just like this having double strike, you can use a unison killer. Attack your opponent's unisons, knock off markers, and then restand and block. Just knocking off a lot of markers off your opponent's unisons is always good. Especially if you have this in play and this. If you have both of these in play, that's even more devastating, because you can definitely knock off 4 markers a turn with these in play. So that's something to keep in mind. This, the fact that it can attack twice can also potentially knock off 2 markers every turn. It has a -2 ability, so you have -2 to draw 2, so you can get some hand advantage. Then it has a -3 ability, which is one of the strongest abilities it has, because it's essentially a board wipe if you use it right. Active main -3, right? Choose up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and place them at the bottom of your opponent's deck, which is the best place to put anything. So this can help you deal with any problematic battle cards, especially if the battle card has barrier. So shoot them down to the bottom deck, as some people say, and then be able to attack and defend, which is always good to be able to attack and still have your defense. Hit and run, hit and block. It's the best way to fight. Block is attacking and blocking, right? Hit and run, sword and shield. And then, of course, the mighty Zeno Cosmic Unisan. We only use it for its -5. We can't use the plus 2, which would be nice if we could. Now, I don't know the ruling. I just want to say this for hypothetical. I wonder if I could +2 and get nothing. Just +2, just a +2. Regardless if my leader is not blue or not. That'd be kind of cool, right? Let's see, what was the other one? Because this has a minus ability, so that's irrelevant. So, because it'd be kind of cool just to be able to +2 this, just so that way this can have a synergy with the Shenron. That would be kind of cool if I could just +2, just a +2. But we really only use this to play it for 5, -5, clear opponent's battle area, including. So obviously, this is not only to deal with our opponent's strategy overground, right? This is also to help us deal with any deck that has a field card like what is it? Yeah, King Vegeta uses it, but definitely King Code is all about field cards. So this is really good in that situation. But most importantly, this is just good at clearing our opponent's board, because if somehow opponent's getting a whole bunch of battle cards on their side of the field, and let's say some of them are pretty big, and that they cost more than 7, you might want to start clearing them real quick. So that's the end of the video.